Hey guys, it's Keegan, and this video is one of at least 5 videos that I plan to do about your inner child. I'll be releasing these videos back to back this week, so depending on when you find this particular video, they might all be available or they might still be coming. To help ensure that you are aware of when I post new content to the channel, please take a moment to subscribe. And if you enjoy this particular video, then show it some love with likes and comments and shares so others can be given the opportunity to find these messages as well. As I mentioned, there are currently 5 videos planned, and I actually pulled all of the cards for each of those 5 readings all at once after taking time to really meditate and set the intention that I would be able to connect with the inner child of those who would eventually watch these videos. I know that a lot of you like to see proof that the cards were randomly selected, so as I am talking about this reading, I will show you the selection of the cards used in this particular reading, sped up so that it only takes about 30 seconds of time. At the end of each of these videos, I'll include a link to a playlist which will contain all of the videos in this series, so you can easily find them and watch them. And I'm happy to focus on other things that your inner child needs from you, or to even just do multiple rounds of investigation around these 5 particular themes. As always, it's really up to you, the viewers of this content, what I'm going to focus on in the future. So be sure to give me feedback in the comments about what you want me to do. When we choose to engage with our inner child and begin the process of reparenting ourselves, one of the first steps we have to take is to acknowledge that our inner child is in fact there. So I wanted to focus one of the readings in this series on what it is that your inner child needs from you in order to feel seen. So this is in a way about you seeing your own childhood experiences in what comes through during this reading. But also, as you watch this, your inner child is also watching and listening closely. Hearing your past, which is your inner child's present reality, will allow the two of you to sense each other, perhaps for the first time for many of you. As you watch this video, pay attention to your emotions and your feelings. You might find that they are unexpected or maybe unpredictable. And if that happens, try to sense where those emotions and feelings are coming from. Most likely, it is your inner child trying to assert themselves and be acknowledged and seen. So let's go ahead and dive into the actual reading. The lead cards out are the 5 of Wands upright and the Tower, which is reversed. The energy here is definitely around competition. I sense that your parents were either very competitive for control in your household, or maybe you yourself were in some way put into competition with one of your parents. Both of those might ring true for you, honestly. But rather than a family environment that feels like it's aligned together, what I sense here is that there was a sort of every man for himself attitude where no one's needs were ever fully being addressed and everyone took the blame for why everyone else was miserable and angry. It feels very chaotic, and unfortunately, it feels like it persisted for a very long time. The Tower reversed has 2 layers of energy for me. The first speaks to the past, in which the adults refused to call it quits and walk away, and also didn't really do much of anything to try to change the situation. There was a lot of codependent energy in the past. So there would be lots of promises to do better, to fight less, to change ways, but the bad times definitely feel like they were more frequent than they were rare. And the second layer of this energy around the reverse Tower speaks directly to you, the person who's listening to me right now. You were deeply transformed by your turbulent childhood home environment. And this was less something that felt like it was happening to you, but more like decisions you made along the way. A lot of it feels reactive to me, and it's definitely coming from a child's perspective. Basically, you built walls and gates and added locks and hid the keys. But your inner child misses who they once were. They remember themselves as once being a very happy, loving, and affectionate child, but they know they made decisions to connect less, to care less, and to train themselves almost to assume the worst. You should know that your inner child retained hope that when they were older, they would find their way back to being that open and caring and optimistic version of who they were. So consider whether you've made yourself more like they hoped you would, or if you've continued to wall yourself off even more as you've grown into an adult. The reverse Two of Cups is always a clue that there's a need for self-love, and the Three of Wands reversed feels like there have been many attempts at that have failed or fizzled out in some way. I sense that your inner child has desperately been trying to figure out how to love and care for itself, but can't actually accomplish that. You have to keep in mind that this is a child version of you with child logic and very limited life experience. If you have figured out as an adult how to love and accept yourself, then you're ahead of the game. But I do sense that this might be an area where you still struggle even as an adult. Think back to how you were as a child. What are the things that you remember about that version of you that you deeply appreciate? So for me, I think of myself as a kid, and I appreciate how much Kid Keaghan could use his imagination, and how he always believed that the world was bigger than what he knew, and that he would one day be able to get out there and see it. Those are things I can share with my inner child to help them understand what is special and unique about them. I can also tell my inner child that they are deserving of stable love and feeling safe and secure, even though I know that isn't exactly what they received. The Three of Wands reversed also gives me energy that this process of helping your inner child love and accept themselves might be something that requires more time and effort than you might realize. Often, when we begin engaging with our inner child, we uncover things that we've forgotten. Or as we reflect back on childhood memories with our new adult perspective, we realize that things we just accepted when we were younger were absolutely not acceptable. We also tend to see the adults in our childhood through a very different perspective once we are now adults ourselves. So what seemed like abject cruelty as a child might now seem more like an undiagnosed mental illness to you as an adult. So the process of really trying to see your inner child requires that you see their perspective, even if you no longer have that perspective yourself. Navigating these unexpected obstacles can be frustrating, and your inner child might not respond well to your adult logic. And your adult mind might question the memories of your inner child. But if the end result is that your inner child begins to feel more love towards itself, more pride in who they are, and more comfort honestly and openly expressing their needs, then it's absolutely worth the effort. Because always remember that you as an adult also receive the benefits as you start to gain the trust of your inner child. As you begin to parent them as they needed to be parented rather than how they were parented, you're healing a great deal of trauma and pain that you've been carrying around with you. So be patient and keep working at it. There's a lot of fear and anxiety showing up here, in addition to a very negative self-image. Your inner child seems to mostly hide out, observing things more like a movie than realizing that they are watching the adult version of them living out an adult life. When they get triggered by something, they communicate with you mostly through raw emotion and energy. You sense their concern, but you're not fully aware that it's coming from them because there's a lack of connection here. They impact you, you impact them, but neither of you are fully conscious of that interaction. I want to give you something specific to think about here. Let's say as a child, your dreams were about a big mansion and lots of money and a specific powerful job. But as an adult, you've decided that a simple life where your actual needs are met and you have time and space to pursue your passions is really what you want. That's now how the adult version of you measures your success. Are your needs met and do you have time to pursue your passions? So you as an adult might actually be doing a great job of trying to build the life that you want. But from the perspective of your inner child, none of their needs are being met. They see this adult life which doesn't match the one they want. And so they might be causing a lot of doubt and insecurity within you about whether or not the life you are building is really what you want. And that's confusing for you because I sense that you are actually getting yourself more and more in tune with what truly matters to you today in the present. The more you can explain the choices and the decisions you've made that do not align to what you thought you wanted as a kid, the more your inner child can begin to understand who they have become. I do sense a great deal of negative self-talk and negative self-image from your inner child. I've mentioned that before. But that might also be true for you today as an adult. I'm reading for a lot of people here, so the specifics about the adult versions are complex and they're very varied. But in terms of the inner child, there's clarity for me. There are fears here that they will never be good enough, that they won't have the things that they want. But their wants and their desires are radically different from the life you currently have. And that might be because you've chosen different ways to measure success, like I mentioned. Or it might be because you are still struggling to clearly define for yourself as an adult what it is that you want. It could even be that as an adult, maybe you do still want that big house and the flashy life you wanted when you were a kid, but you haven't managed to accomplish that just yet. Some of you might even be reversed from the energy that I've shared here, meaning perhaps as a child, you thought you wanted to have a small, simple life, and as an adult, you've decided to chase after something which is much more extravagant. But the thing to take away from this, regardless of the specifics of your life, is that there is a mismatch between you and your inner child in terms of what a safe, happy, and perfect life looks and feels like. And you have to either get the inner child on board with what you want as an adult, or give them aspects of the life they want while also giving yourself the things that you want. I feel like the energy here is energy that you will eventually arrive at as you do inner child work down the line. This Two of Wands is all about being clear about what it is that you want, and then figuring out how you think you're going to get there. It's about making plans and exploration. And so I say this is future focused because before you can really engage your inner child in that way, you have to establish a connection with them and earn their trust. But I sense that once you do that, they become a partner to you in chasing after your aspirations. I sense here too that there were a lot of issues with the mother figure growing up, and that as a kid, you often had to soothe yourself, motivate yourself, care for yourself as best as you could. And because of that, your inner child has potential to want to keep you too safe, to be overly protective of you, or to maybe just need too much reassurance. So you have to work to make it clear that you, the adult version, get to make all decisions ultimately, but that you will listen to their input and try to explain your reasoning to an extent. Once your inner child realizes that they are interacting with the adult version of themselves, they want to step forward and help keep you focused on taking care of yourself. But it's important that you explain to them that they don't have to be the parent anymore. They get to just be a kid. You are the parent now that both of you needed when you were younger. It's important that you do things in the present that make you feel happy and make you feel like you are pampering yourself in some way. Because what that does is it sends a signal to your inner child that your needs are not only being met, but they are in a way being exceeded. So if it's been a while since you did something just for you, it's a good experiment to run to see how you feel afterward. I suspect that a lot of the anxiety and worry and fear that might have been popping up for you will be drastically reduced as your inner child stops frantically trying to be the parent and settles in just being a kid who wants to have fun and do exciting things. I sense a great deal of worry from your inner child about how they will ever be able to accomplish the things they hope to. They feel like they don't know how to break free and start chasing after what they want. And this energy exists within you too because they are a part of you. If you can lean more into building your own faith in the universe, that divine parent to all of us, then you will feel more supported yourself. And because of that, you will then be better equipped to support and parent your inner child. The truth is, your inner child actually is ill-equipped to map out a plan for you and your adult life, because that isn't their responsibility. The worry and the concern they have as a reaction to the pressure they feel to care for themselves and to try to figure out things that are beyond their abilities is creating energy within you that's holding you back. The Five of Cups placement emphasizes that more clearly. Like I mentioned previously in the reading, from the perspective of your inner child, they do not have the life they want. They are stranded in a way in all of your past experiences from your childhood. They feel that they have failed to grow up, failed to find a way to that life that existed when they would escape into their imagination and think about how different it would all feel once they were the adult and had control. In my mind, I sense that your inner child is so focused on what they don't see that it's preventing you from really being able to focus on what actually is and what it is that you hope to create. I wouldn't be shocked if success, real true success that you have on things that really matter to you, often leaves you feeling unfulfilled. And that's because inside of you, there is this frightened, disappointed, and fragile child who is constantly asking, why isn't my life getting better? But what's most important for you to take away from this reading is that your inner child needs to have their wishes heard, their fears acknowledged, and they need to be told that they are perfect just as they are. You need to help them feel less like they are a victim of their circumstances and help them realize that you are the one who now carries the responsibility to keep both of you happy and safe and thriving. But you can't fully accept that responsibility until you are ready to be responsible. There's a synergy here. You will feel fear and insecurity as long as your inner child feels those things. But you don't want to risk being yet another adult who made promises they couldn't keep. So before you really dive into inner child work, you need to be certain that you are in a good space as an adult. You don't have to be perfect, but you do need to feel capable and confident in your ability to carry the responsibility without it feeling like a burden. You don't want your inner child to feel like a burden. So, guys, that wraps up this particular reading. And I just want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and for all the support that you've given me here on the channel. I hope that this video contained lots of useful messages that can help you and your inner child in your journey together. And if you would like to work with me one-on-one through a personal reading, you can book that through my website, KeaghanKirk.com. I've included a few videos as well as the inner child playlist here on the screen for you. And again, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please take a moment to click the subscribe button for me. I'll be back soon with more videos, and I'm sending you lots of positive, empowering energy. I love you guys.